Well, a happy Friday to everybody. Hope you've had a good week. And here we are for our normal Friday routine of shout-outs, groaner, and what else do we do? Seems like there's something. Oh, yes, that's right. We have story time, don't we? And this week is chapter 14 of The Answers Man, a Frank and Abby mystery. And it is the final chapter. So, let's get on with our day, and we will begin. Just turn myself to chapter 14 so we're ready to go when that happens. There we are. But let's start with our shoutouts. And our shoutouts this week, the first one is for a lovely lady and lovely channel called Rose Jane. And Rose Jane does a video about to do with her family and nature and all kinds of very interesting channels. So check out Rose Jane. Second one is Life of Nina. And Nina does vlogs about her life, about traveling in her area and some of the scenery, about her Rhode Island red chickens, her husband cooking at times, just a variety of things, and always fascinating. Just a lovely, genteel lady. So check out Life of Nina. And third and finally, not least by any means, is Mari's Garden. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's M-A-R-I''S. Mari's Garden. Sorry, I'm just fiddling around here with something I shouldn't be fiddling around with. Okay, so yes, check out her garden. Her videos about her garden, but other things as well. And again, a little bit of a variety. So 3 wonderful channels for you to check out. That's Rose Jane, and it's 2 separate words. And I'll put it up here or here in the bubble, as I usually do. Life of Nina and Mari's Garden. All right. Well, you've all been very tolerant sitting here for the last 13 weeks as I read this story to you, and this is the 14th week and the final chapter. So, not sure what we'll do next week, but we'll think of something. All right. You ready? Here we go. Kitchen. The next 8 months were almost boring after the excitement of Pastor Wainwright's caper, as Abby and I jokingly referred to it. We were both kept busy with more routine inquiries, which were in keeping with not being a licensed detective agency. In September, my old company gave me a 3-month contract as a consultant, basically doing my old job, but for far more pay than I used to get. In fact, the amount I earned in those 3 months ensured that I wouldn't have to dip into my savings or investments over the winter to keep us going. The nicest part was that I was able to do most of the work out of my office in Ryeville with only an occasional trip into Lauder City, meaning I got to spend more time with Abby. On top of the work we were doing through the business, I also kept my promise to Sheriff Barrett and Chief Baldwin, and was taking time each day to study for the upcoming private investigator's exam. Abby was with me all the way, quizzing me and going through the scenarios with me, and the learning curve was steep, but I had always tried to be a man of my word, and I wasn't about to change now. At the beginning of October, a new member joined the staff at Harvey's Answers Agency. Marg showed up one afternoon with a cardboard box and announced she had a present for us. Abby called me out of my office to come and see what Marg had brought. The 3 of us stood around Abby's desk as she opened the lid. There, sitting in the middle of the box on an old towel, was an 8-week-old black ball of long fur of the feline variety. My neighbor's cat got pregnant before she was able to get her to the vet's to be spayed. I know this old building has, on occasion, attracted mice, so I thought he could earn his keep by being your mouser, Marg said as she reached into the box and lifted him out. Oh my! I guess I really should have asked you both if you would like a cat. He's adorable, Abby said as she reached over and took the kitten from Marg. Isn't he just adorable, Frank? Lucky for him and the 2 of you, I'm one of those rare guys who really does like cats, I replied. And yes, he's quite the looker. Does he have a name yet? No, I thought I'd leave that up to the 2 of you, Marg said. With his coloration, maybe something like Mr. Black would be fitting. I've got the perfect name for him, Abby chuckled. Sleuth. And so it was, Sleuth joined the agency. Abby took some money from petty cash and went to the store to buy kitten food, a litter box, litter, and a few other necessities. Sleuth made himself right at home and curled up for a nap in Abby's chair. It didn't take long for both of us to learn to look in our chairs prior to sitting down. The other thing about Sleuth that Abby and I agreed on was that he would be an indoor cat. He had free range of the old building, including my apartment on the second floor, but we didn't want to worry about him being hit by a car or getting into fights with other cats. The trial for Debbie and Robert, although originally scheduled for October, due to legal wrangling, were held in November. Pastor Wainwright and I called as witnesses in both cases. Pastor Wainwright and I were called as witnesses in both cases. Robert was found guilty of first-degree kidnapping and numerous other related charges and sentenced to serve 20 years. Because Debbie had cooperated with the authorities, she was charged with and found guilty of second-degree kidnapping, plus related crimes, and sentenced to 10 years. Both are now serving their time in federal facilities. By the grace of God, I have found the strength to forgive Debbie for what she did to me, and I pray for her and Robert daily. I have to give Pastor Wainwright his due. He visits both Debbie and Robert at their respective prisons on a regular basis. On January 23rd, Abby and I went to Lincoln, the state capital, and sat the required exams to get our PI licenses. Yes, I said Abby and I. She had helped me so much with my studying that I was sure she knew the material as well or better than I did. It took some tall talk on my part, but she finally agreed to sit the exam. We got the results on the 15th of February. We both passed, and I'll be darned if Abby didn't beat me by a percentage point. I teased her about it and said it was because of her years of working as Chief Baldwin's secretary. Upon hearing our good news, Sheriff Barrett and Chief Baldwin and their wives took Abby and I out for a celebratory dinner. They congratulated both of us and presented each of us with an engraved crystal name plaque for our desk. The plaques had our names engraved in bold letters across the top and Private Investigator in smaller font underneath. We contacted Wally and hired him to repaint the window for us. He agreed to do so, but pointed out that it would have to wait until the weather warmed up. Due to the fact we needed to decide on a window design, the delay was actually welcome. It was this very issue that caused Abby and my first argument. I wanted to rename the company Harvey and Barstow Detective Agency. Abby thought her name shouldn't be included as she was merely an unpaid employee. Her offering was Harvey's Answers and Investigations. In the end, I went to a lawyer, and as my gift to Abby, had her made a full partner in a now incorporated company with the name, a compromise, Harvey and Barstow Answers and Investigations. Wally would have his work cut out for him painting all that on the window. Abby's gift to me in return was to design and copyright a company logo, the silhouette of a cat holding a magnifying glass, and the word sleuth in small letters underneath. On a personal front, Abby and I were now officially dating, although given all the work we had on our plates, the dates were few and far between. We seldom had to worry about bringing our personal lives into the office, but often found ourselves discussing work during what was supposed to be personal time. We agreed that this was something we both needed to work on. February 14th, Valentine's Day, Abby received a phone call saying she was needed urgently at the Baptist Church, our home congregation. When she arrived, I met her at the front, and before God and all of our friends and family, I asked her for her hand in marriage. She stuttered for a moment, but with a large smile on her face, said yes. And that's the end of The Answers Man, a Frank and Abby mystery. This is what the company logo looked like. Well, I hope you enjoyed The Answers Man, and I'm still working on writing the next in the series, which is Frank and Abby mystery called Bad Chemistry. just haven't had the real writer's bug in the last little while. So I've got 2 books on the go. As you know, I'm also writing Uncle Tad. So hopefully I can get my bug back, get bit by the writing bug again, and get those 2 books finished. All right, now it's time for the Groaner of the Week. Well, you remember last week we talked about the very wealthy Christian man who was very generous and dedicated, and when he died, he was allowed by God to take his money to heaven. Well, this week we're going to talk about his brother. Now, his brother was younger, and his father, being a traditional kind of guy, when he died, left the entire company to the older brother who had passed away. The older brother was more generous than the dad, and so when he divided up his estate, he left a good part of the company to his brother, feeling bad that he hadn't gotten it earlier when his father had died. Well, the younger brother did exactly what the father thought he would do. He squandered it. Just wasn't a good, decent person at all. He was all about himself, very self-centered, selfish. And even his wife and his son suffered from his selfishness. Well, it turns out that what the elder brother died of was a genetic disease, and it wasn't long after that the younger brother was diagnosed with the same thing, was pronounced terminally ill. And so for 3 months before he passed away, he fumed and fussed and wasn't fair, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then he decided, well, if my brother can take something to heaven with him, so can I. And he decided he'd do just like what his brother did. So he cashed in some assets, bought some gold bullion, packed it in a suitcase, and put it in the attic on the floor right above his bed. Well, a month later, in his sleep, he passed away. And his wife found him in the morning, looking rather peaceful, but gone. And she called for her son, and he came, and the doctor came and, yes, pronounced the fellow dead. The mother said to the son, go upstairs to the attic and see if that suitcase is still there that your father wanted you to help him put there. So the son goes upstairs, and sure enough, there is a suitcase sitting right where he helped his dad put it. And he drags it downstairs, because it's pretty heavy. It's filled with gold bullion. And he gets it downstairs, and the mother takes one look at it, and she says, I knew that old fool should have put it in the basement. Wah, wah, wah. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and you'll have a great weekend ahead of you. So take care, stay safe, and God bless.